Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Feels so funky. Feels so funky.
Hello everybody and welcome to Cinematic for the People. It's episode 6. It's the 6th of June 2018. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Kerr, joined as always by my friend and co-host Andrew Craddock.
Hello, Alan.
This week the main topic of conversation is going to be the new release, the brand spanking new release. We only just saw it hours ago, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah. We did. Well, I saw it at the midnight show last night. You're literally about an hour after seeing it.
Yeah, the hottest of takes. We'll get into the news and what else we've been watching later on. But first things first, how's it going, Andy? How you been?
Good, man. Good. Just the usual. Plenty of work. Plenty of film watching in the process as well. Trying to deal with this uncharacteristic Scottish weather that we continue to have.
Beautifully sunny day in the south side of Glasgow.
Yes.
Is this still technically Glasgow?
No, we're recording in Renfrewshire.
Oh.
Yeah, we're a whole county over, man. So
outskirts.
it's also a beautiful sunny day in lovely Renfrewshire as well. But yeah, no, all good, man. Just been trying to keep up with films, old and new. What about yourself?
Much the same. I think every time I bring this up, I just say that I'm coming towards the end of my college course, which is getting closer and closer, and I've done not an appropriate amount of work to match how close the deadline is getting.
Interesting that you went to see a film during the day today.
Hey, shut up.
Okay. But that's okay, I'm sure you'll
had to be
fine.
done, otherwise we're going to start at 8 o'clock, and then...
That's true, we have lives,
God. Who has time for that?
No.
But I mean, I can't say the film that I dropped out of college early for was entirely worth it.
Okay,
but I mean, before we get into that,
well,
why do you give us a wee synopsis of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom?
Sure. So the synopsis of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom from Letterboxd is a strangely descriptive one, considering it's a sequel. It sort of reads as if it's not really following up to a previous film.
As if you've
never met these characters
franchise,
before. And
yeah.
yeah. So our synopsis goes as follows: a volcanic eruption threatens the remaining dinosaurs on the island of Isla Nublar. That's how they pronounce it in the film.
I was actually going to, sorry to interrupt, but I was going to bring that up beforehand. Like, I would always say Isla Nublar.
I don't know, man. I'm sure they have to have done some fact checking there. So
everyone in the movie says Isla.
Island of Isla Nublar, where the creatures have freely roamed for several years after the demise of an animal theme park known as Jurassic World, last film. Claire Deering, the former park manager from the last film, now has founded the Dinosaur Protection Group, an organisation dedicated to protecting the dinosaurs. To help with her cause, Claire has recruited Owen Grady from the last film, a former dinosaur trainer who worked at the park to prevent the extinction of the dinosaurs once again.
The man who proved raptors can follow orders. You never thought how many millions a trained predator might be worth?
They're gonna sell them.
Not blue. They need it for something else.
What is that thing? They made it.
This is the most dangerous creature that ever walked the earth.
I say we shut this whole thing down.
Hey, girl, you think what I'm thinking?
Genetic power has now been unleashed.
You can't put it back in the box.
Sorry for all my parentheses there, but like, it just seems weird that they're like just. It's like Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Luke Skywalker recruits plucky pilot Han Solo. It's like, we know these people. Like, Luke and Han are on an adventure again.
A young farm boy from Tatooine, which is a planet.
Yeah, so it's like the former park manager Claire. It is kind of assuming that you've already forgotten Jurassic World, so it's probably not such a bad assumption.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because see, like, within the first 10 minutes, it became quite apparent that I remembered almost nothing from Jurassic World.
It reminded me, or didn't remind me, it gave me a sort of presence of mind of where I'm going to be when Avatar 2 comes out. I'm going to be going, who, why?
Here's what I remember from Avatar. Jake Sully.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was Scully, but okay.
Well, there you go. Wheelchair.
Yeah.
Robot with a big knife.
Mm-hmm.
plugging your ponytail into a bird.
Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
pretty much it.
I also remember a little Charlie Chaplin reference because I was really getting into Chaplin at the time. So there's a little reference to a Chaplin film in there that I picked up on, and I don't think anyone around me did. That I was like, Chaplin. But yeah, this film, man, Jurassic World. What did you think of it? Just what's your initial impressions of it? Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, I should say.
I thought it was pretty bad. I don't
Okay.
like to be overly negative on things, but man, there's not a lot of good things to say about it.
Yeah, there's. I'll agree with you. I also thought the film was pretty poor, to the point though where I was laughing away at how bad some of the decisions seemed to be and how B-movie like a lot of it seemed. I think I went to the midnight show and I am not used to staying up that late these days. And I think I was a little delirious with like exhaustion. There were some good things, like you say, to talk about. Maybe I'll have a couple more than you, but based on what I'm hearing there. But generally, I thought it was a poor effort.
What was the crowd like that you were at the midnight show for?
Quiet. I mean, I saw it at the IMAX again in Glasgow, which seats, I got to say, that's got to seat, 300, maybe more?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say there were like 40 or 50 people.
That's more than I thought there would be even.
But in fairness, it's a midnight show. But yeah, certainly wasn't busy. What about yourself
No
today?
whooping and hollering?
No, man, a lot of very quiet people. In fact, the girl in front of me just stopped watching it and put her glasses on top of her head and just cuddled up to her boyfriend. So she couldn't have been too interested. But what about yourself? What was the crowd like where you saw it?
It was 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon.
Lots of old people.
Not even. It was like a carer group with a service user and a family with a kid who was way too young to be watching it, I think.
Okay. It's a 12A, so as long as they're with an adult, then it's supposedly all right. But
and then a couple of girls who looked like they had just wanted to find a dark, cold room from the sun.
Yeah.
Whose phone went off during the film? Come on,
get it together, people.
But yeah, zero reactions from anyone about any part of the movie. There was no like, or there's no, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There was.
I had a couple of chuckle moments at stuff. I remember laughing, like actually laughing with the movie a couple of times, but not in a way that I can even remember what I was laughing at. And like I said, I was pretty much going through some kind of delirious exhaustion. It's like getting on to 2 a.m. and I'm sitting in a cinema thinking, why am I not in my bed?
Yep. What did you think of Jurassic World, the predecessor to this movie?
You see, we kind of talked about this before a little bit, and I think we kind of differ on this. I don't have a big tie to the Jurassic Park films. When I was a kid, I remember going to see Jurassic Park. I think I saw it in the cinema when I was on a family holiday in Jersey, an old Odeon there. It's no longer there. And I never clicked with it like a lot of kids my age did. I'm a couple of years older than yourself, but like
Not by much though. Yeah.
So we were both kids when it came out.
I saw it on video for the first time.
Sure. So, but I mean, it never like clicked with me. I was never one of those kids who was super into like dinosaurs and stuff. That wasn't really my thing. So I don't have that kind of like nostalgic connection to Jurassic Park. So when I went to see Jurassic World, it was round about the time that I just got my Cineworld Unlimited card, and I was just wanting to see a bunch of stuff because I thought I haven't been to the cinema for ages, so I'm just going to try and use this as much as possible. And I went in just looking for some entertainment, not really being a big fan of the previous films, and I to get to the point, I thoroughly enjoyed Jurassic World. But I get it; it's not like an artistic piece of work. It's sort of really is the definition of a popcorn movie.
I liked it on those grounds as well. Like, I was a big fan of the original Jurassic Park. I definitely went through a dinosaur period when I was a kid.
And a lot of kids do.
Say.
Yeah, absolutely.
A Jurassic period, you might say. Andy. But this one, like a lot of people, like after I saw it, were like, "Oh, it was just a retread of the last one, and it was stupid, training raptors." A load of nonsense.
That stuff never bothered me in Jurassic World. I suspended disbelief enough to believe that they could genetically engineer these things to be
that stuff
compliant. Like that's fine.
I feel like when I watched that, I tried to make excuses for it to myself. I was like, well, they don't lean on it too heavily. They don't like, they don't. It's not like he gives a big thumbs up to the raptor or whatever. It's not like he's like going fetching the paper for him. It was slight enough that I could forgive it. But they've really doubled down on that in this movie. That's pretty much the whole kind of thrust of this movie is the whole training of and genetic manipulation of dinosaurs and stuff.
Well, yeah, they go into it, and yet they don't really show us it in action as such. They kind of show us some video footage of when he was supposed to be training the Raptor Blue from the last film. And it's like, all right, like, yeah, they I don't know, man, like, what am I trying to say here? It just doesn't really feel like they explain what they're trying to go for with it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure, like, what they wanted this film to be, because at times it's like a haunted house movie, you know?
I read that online.
More in common with Halloween than Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into that now. It really does feel like the whole second half of the movie is set in a house.
Yeah.
So,
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are. We're kind of jumping around, but like, yeah, it's the director has a very kind of interesting history. He doesn't do like the one kind of film. He did The Orphanage, which I believe was produced by Del Toro. And he did The Impossible, which was the one about the tsunami.
I really like The Impossible. And
he did just called A Monster Calls with Liam Neeson, and I thought that was a terrific movie. That was one of my favourites from a couple of years ago. So he's a talented guy. He's done some good stuff.
Yeah, I blame the script big time with this movie.
It seems, how the hell did this script pass muster?
I know.
Who was supposed to look at it before? I mean, Spielberg, I imagine he has all the final say apparently on these movies.
You think he's still reading scripts?
I suppose he's handing them to his assistants and just saying flag anything up that seems terrible, but they're like, eh.
And no one highlighted the words dinosaur auction, so...
No one highlighted Bryce Dallas Howard. It was all a lie. Bastards! It's like, oh, you maybe want to do another take there. Although, in fairness, that is a directorial issue, but he's a Spanish-speaking director. I don't know what his English is like, but I don't know. I get the impression that some of the dialogue didn't work for me as well. So I would put that down to the director in that case.
So, like we said, the premise of the movie is that the original island, Isla Nublar,
yeah, get it right, man.
There is a volcano which is erupting. So Bryce Dallas Howard has to get the old gang back together. She has to get Owen Grady, you know.
But like,
what a memorable character he is.
I couldn't even remember his name. See, when it's like she goes to that guy, I'm like, who is he again? That's Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
There he is. There's Chris Pratt.
So they have to both. Sorry, we can hear a helicopter passing by, but you know.
We have to have windows open in this
control the skies.
Horrible day, and we are recording underneath a very popular flight path.
So they have to go to the island to try and rescue this handful of dinosaurs. But then it becomes apparent that maybe the people who hired them don't have the most well-meaning intentions. Maybe there's something else going on. There definitely is something else going on.
A little too apparent, though. It's like...
Yeah, as soon as that guy showed up, I'm like, definitely the villain.
And even Chris Pratt gives him a look like, huh, like that doesn't make any sense, the things you're telling me. And then they carry on along with the whole thing. It seemed like they needed a reason to get the dinosaurs off that island. And it's like, what have we got? And it's like the clumsiest thing. It's like, we need to save them, even though there's a whole bit at the start where Congress are meeting with Jeff Goldblum there, giving his opinion as the leading paleontologist.
Yeah, by the way, if you're excited about Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Ian Malcolm returning to the franchise...
And you've seen the trailer.
To give up all hope because he's in it. He bookends the movie. He's hardly in it.
I would say he's in it for all of 30 to 45 seconds.
Like, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the majority of his stuff in it.
Yeah, you've seen his whole
and some more, because there's some stuff he says in the trailer that isn't even in the movie.
That's right.
Although that's thankful, because in the trailer he straight up says life finds a way.
Oh yeah, right. So
which
he
is
does.
Dumb. Like, why would they say it? He doesn't know that's a catchphrase. Why would he say it?
Because he's read the script. His character has read the script. Yeah, so there's this whole bit at the start with the government sort of voting against saving these dinosaurs and letting them just die off, because the argument being, well, they were sort of created through man trying to be a god, so let you know, and it was created by a private organisation. It's nothing to do with us, we'll not save them. So suddenly it's like, oh, well, there's the private organisation wants to save them, and they bring in Claire, what's her face? They bring in Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt to go and save them because they worked there and they have access, or she has access, and he knows how to kind of speak to that velociraptor. So stupid. Like, yeah. It really is, actually, when you start putting it all together. So, but yeah, so they it's just so clumsy that the idea that they would just sort of, they need to get these dinosaurs off the island. How do we do it? Let's just write some ramshackle plot to get them back on there, but then quickly get them off again. And the volcano thing was about the strongest thing in the movie for me, at least. So
But I feel like someone was like, something like a volcano but less crappy. So is everyone okay with volcano then?
yeah. Although it seemed to me, you said that the island has a volcano on it. Is it not that the island basically is one large volcano? Like it's a volcanic island?
It looks like it.
So like
With some light beach around the side of it.
right, it was a cool design. I liked that. The trailer certainly made it seem like we're going to be spending a lot more time on that island, and really we don't. But for me, that seemed like the strongest part of the film. There's an awesome action sequence or action set piece when they're like escaping from the volcano after they've sort of had their betrayal moment. For me, I say awesome. It certainly got me more excited because up until that point, I thought it'd been a little pedestrian, and I was like, okay, like
it does take a while to even look for anything to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit flat and slow, and then maybe half an hour in, we get this moment where they're really in the heart of the volcano, and that part, it certainly got the heart pumping a little bit. I thought, okay, here we go, something interesting. But by God, like, it really kind of came to a halt after that when it changed direction.
Yeah, like, we're kind of wary. Well, I'm wary. I don't give a fuck. But I'm wary about saying too much about the plot. But, like, more than half of the movie is, like, stuff that you don't see in the trailers. So we're just going to talk.
There's been some footage out there that's not maybe trailers, maybe like TV spots or something. There's been footage from like the latter half of the movie, which didn't surprise me to find out that the cool stuff on the island lasted the first act and the first act only.
So we're going to be talking quite openly about like the second 2/3 even of the movie where it
or certainly second half. Well, I don't know about 2/3, but certainly second half. Yeah.
Where they come back to somewhere in the United States, I
think it's California.
It's California. Yeah, that would make sense.
To James Cromwell's house.
To his big old house, the mansion from Resident Evil.
The biggest mansion ever, with like rooms the size like
several basements.
Yeah, certainly like nothing you could possibly ever have in a house. Yeah.
He's talking about a dinosaur.
Yeah. So I mean, are we done with the island stuff? I mean, the thing is, like you were saying,
it blew up, like, you know.
Yeah, this is the island from the first film, and they've got I mean, a thing that stood out for me, that alarm bells were really ringing on the island before we move off of this island, when the army guy, like, you know, angry army guy that's evidently going to betray them, like very quickly when somebody goes, hey, wait a minute, do you not think we should do this? Like, just pulls his gun and starts like shooting tranquilizers at our heroes and the two like young millennial characters that they've added in for quirky value, I guess. They were fucking terrible. Yeah. So unmemorable and probably memorable for the wrong reasons. I found them really annoying.
Everything that guy said landed so flat for me.
And her.
I didn't think she was as bad, but him especially was just like,
she reminded me of
I don't want to be here.
She was like there's an old David Pryor film that they watched on Best of the Worst a while ago called Deadliest Prey. It's a sequel to Deadly Prey, and there's a character in that called Candy Girl.
Wait. Yeah. Shouldn't the sequel to Deadly Prey be
Deadlier Prey?
Yes.
But they fucked it up.
You've
because
where
they're terrible.
The third one now?
Well, yeah. Thankfully, the director died, so no third one. Either way, she's like a young hacker whose only catchphrase is "True Dat," and that's pretty much all she says through the movie.
That is pretty cool, to be honest.
This girl in this film reminded me of Candy Girl. I was like, here we go, man. Anyway, this army guy very quickly just sort of pulls the gun, and he's like, right, by the way, we're the bad guys. It's like, all right, this really hasn't been built up like appropriately at all, but we knew it was always going to happen, but it felt like the movie didn't even try, to set up some kind of any kind of tension to the whole thing. Like, are they, aren't they?
Yeah, it did feel like it was like the audience is just going to intuit that these guys are bad. Yeah,
it's like they're in on it, so why bother? It's like it's kind of the whole movie. Why bother?
Yeah, it's very, very boring start. Then that one action piece, and then it turns into this bizarre. Did you ever play the game Dino Crisis?
Yeah, on the N64, right?
Along with other platforms, yes.
Other platforms are available.
But it reminded me of that. A lot of tight corridors.
You mentioned the Resident Evil mansion, and it had been something like that had been in the back of my mind. I hadn't vocalized it, but that's what it was. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. But
so we mentioned briefly the cast. I want to specifically call out Chris Pratt, who can be good and stuff, right?
Yeah, we've seen him being very good and stuff.
Very lovable and hilarious as Andy Dwyer on Parks and Rec.
Which I've actually never seen.
It's a very good show. Great as Star-Lord.
Yeah, particularly in like that Guardians movie, the latest Avengers movie. He was great in.
But in this, I feel like his only direction is like, be cool. And he just spends the whole time kind of squinting at the camera. And like I feel like his character should be a lot smarter than he is. Like he's playing it like Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China.
Where's the dope?
Yeah, where like he should be like, I mean, look at Jurassic Park. Like the lead people were like just a couple of button-up scientists. They weren't like action heroes.
Sure. He's certainly more, you would think, of an action hero type, and even his character's occupation, working out in the field like that.
I just think everything about his character is so cheesy. And
is there really a character there?
No, there's just like a vest and a pose.
Like, let's go to the Phantom Menace Plinkett review thing. Like, don't describe anything about how he looks, but like just tell me one thing about his character, like an adjective about his character based on Fallen Kingdom.
As likes dinosaurs an adjective.
Why not?
Yeah, that could apply to half the cast.
Yeah,
and the other half I would describe as indifferent towards dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about Pratt, it really felt like he's not on the screen that much. Neither of our two main characters seem to get a lot of screen time.
I noticed that there was big stretches where I was like, where are the cast?
There's an awful lot of screen time just sort of devoted to like other stuff that's going on with like seemingly more incidental characters. A lot of kind of creative camera work. I thought the camera work was actually one of the strengths of the film, just in the way the camera moved and stuff. It was kind of inventive and something to take your mind off the fact that nothing else was happening. But certainly didn't seem like the main characters had a great, a great deal of dialogue or a great deal of development. They were just kind of there every now and then. He seemed to be phoning it in, man. His performance just wasn't up to par at all.
And they had just no relationship.
No,
and we're told that they have.
Their chemistry is poor.
Yeah.
She's not a favourite actress of mine, but I thought she was. Again, I wonder if this is something to do with the director and maybe the material just wasn't working on the set, because I think he got quite a lot of good performances out of the actors in A Monster Calls, and you say The Impossible was a good film. I've never seen.
Yeah. But I mean, The Impossible and The Monster Calls and The Orphan, they're all kind of
Orphanage,
like The Orphanage. Sorry, they are like spectacle visual films that have like a kind of like a heart to, not a heart, but like they have a message of like.
Sure,
something
they're
to say.
not cogs in a franchise kind of idea.
But this has nothing to. I feel like it's got the hint of something to say. It is also a big spectacle, so it's just strange that he didn't raise it above what it could have been. Sorry, what it ended up being.
I feel like when you say that it doesn't have anything to say, it felt a little muddled. There was someone at one point called someone a nasty woman, which was a throwback to the Trump insult on Hillary Clinton during one of the debates. So that was a big dig at President Trump.
There's also another one where
there were a few.
Where Goldblum says megalomaniacal political leaders.
That's right. And that was earlier. That was much earlier in the film, right at the start. And later on, somebody says,
megalomaniacal. I apologize. That was a terrible.
What a nasty woman. And I that was one of the bits now that I remember that I did laugh at, because I remember that happening. It was one of the debates just before the election when everyone said, "Oh, well, that's him lost it now." It's like, I don't think you understand the people that are that impresses most of the people that are going to be voting for him. Boy. So I think there was a political statement kind of going on there, maybe, but I mean, even if there was a stronger political statement before like it was edited, I've got a feeling Universal would not have wanted it to be overtly political, because how would it serve them? So I'm sure they've maybe muted any of that.
But there's some really easy things that you can run with.
The environmental thing.
Thing, like animal
again, they
welfare.
kind of touch on it. She's got that kind of environmental non-profit.
They brush up against it, but then they just end up in a Halloween movie.
Yeah, man. They brush up against a lot of stuff in this movie and never develop it.
It's really badly written, I thought.
The wee girl is a clone, by the way.
There is. I said to Andy beforehand, like, should we not mention that? Is that too much of a spoiler?
I don't give a fuck, mate. That wee girl is a clone.
Yeah, there's a little girl who's a clone.
Moving on, man. I mean,
And that was beyond the pale for Richard Hammond. Richard Hammond?
Yeah.
Dr. Hammond.
Yeah, it's John Hammond.
John Hammond, you're right.
Yeah,
Richard
it's not John Hamm.
Attenborough.
Yeah.
David Attenborough.
Oh my god.
David Williams. But yeah, there's a clone in this movie. Be ready for that.
How can you prepare someone for that? It's absurd. The whole thing is fucking
and
absurd.
also, it has no bearing on the plot or anything.
It
you
has
know,
one tiny bit of payoff,
like right at the end,
which I'll not spoil just for the fucking sake of it. But my god, like, is that really how they could get? We need a little bit of payoff, like in the writers' room. Like, I've got it, guys. That little girl is a clone. It's like, oh, perfect. Like, give that guy a raise.
I mean, fair enough. Like, the whole premise of the film and series is based on genetic cloning.
It is. But come on to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, human cloning now, like...
Stupid. And it raises so many further questions that the film doesn't even hint at addressing.
Well, no, it throws it in with like 10 minutes to go. She's a clone! It's like, fuck! Anyway.
You've thrown me off with all this clone talk.
Sorry. It had to be said, man.
The effects and the set pieces and the action and stuff.
Strong. And relatively strong, I'll say. What do you think? Not doing it for you.
This the scene where they are in the kind of gyrosphere underwater had some tension to it, I suppose.
Yeah,
but other than that, like, it was.
We've seen that kind of scene in a lot of movies, you know, trapped underwater.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I thought anything after the island didn't even kind of raise like a blip on my radar of like excitement or anything, you know.
Agreed. That's what I was saying. The main action sequence is the one that basically they've shown from all angles in the trailer. And, you know, understandably so.
Like, remember when the first trailer came out and everyone was like, "They're showing the whole movie. They showed that bit where the T-Rex comes in and fights the other dinosaurs. It's the whole movie."
That is all going to be the first act. As soon as I saw a little bit of footage from this auction thing, I was like, "My God, that island stuff is just going to be the first act."
So I've got written here, misleading marketing, ? Do you think that stands, or like you said earlier on,
it's just good marketing? Yeah, I mean, well, you can't win sometimes. The trailer people, like, they always get complaints like, "Oh, well, you're showing the whole movie in the trailer, you're showing everything, you're showing too much." And then now it's like, "Oh, you didn't show us enough, so it's misleading marketing." Yeah, I think they did a fine job in selling the movie, because by God, trying to sell the second half of this movie in a trailer, you'd be like, "What? Like, what? There's a dinosaur auction. They're selling them to the highest bidder, and they're crazy Russian terrorists or something." Like,
$1 million.
25 millions.
Yep.
Millions.
I is foreign.
Yeah. And also, like, why were they buying, like, these dinosaurs? These were just regular dinosaurs. Like, what were they going to use them for?
And, like, one of them's like a kind of, like, a fairly dopey, docile looking thing.
Benign herbivore that just happens to have a big, like, hard back.
Yeah, it's
what
like,
are they going to do with it?
They say
use
this
it as a coffee table.
This is the tank of the dinosaur world. It's
They're not going to send it in against an army.
You can't get inside it.
A few bullets and it's dead. Like,
Jesus.
So, but yeah, we're getting away from the point here, which is...
I just keep remembering more silly things.
But that's the thing, like, it's so difficult to have a sort of a straight and narrow discussion about this movie, because you're like, "Oh yeah, the fucking cloned girl," and "Oh yeah, they were buying a fucking huge turtle dinosaur or whatever."
I don't know if you remember, but before Jurassic World, the last one came out, there was leaked info and
like a spec script.
Yeah, and like art. There was, what's the word?
Concept art.
Concept art, of course.
That's why there's the two of us here.
Of dinosaur human soldier hybrids, and everyone was like, "That is ridiculous."
That's Super Mario Brothers.
This movie isn't far away from that, to be honest.
Particularly, we've not really talked about it yet, but they're talking about they've engineered a new dinosaur based on the Indominus Rex of the previous film, which was also engineered as a new dinosaur. That one was engineered to attract more tourists because they're going to be bored because they've all seen all the other dinosaurs. This one has been engineered to work as a weaponized dinosaur. It didn't seem to hold up very well against like two exhausted middle-aged people and a clone girl.
Yeah.
Like it bit the dust pretty early on.
Yep.
Like, you know, in that fight, it's like these people were bidding on it to like send it in to war. Like
against armed soldiers and, you know,
again, like just a few bullets,
airborne missiles, and
it's like what like, yeah, what a waste.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did we get into that?
I started talking about the marketing. And then
I think we started talking about the action sequences, and I was like, they're
Yeah.
pretty good, and you're like, moving on. Like that stuff on the island. I mean, you could, once they leave that island, you could get up and just leave. Like, that's the strongest part of the movie, and even then, it's not that strong. It's, yeah, if you do just decide to get up and go at that point, you're really not missing very much. You're missing a very strange decision to set your flagpole blockbuster in one house.
And so much of it is built around the relationship between Owen and Blue, the raptor. And no one, like, is there market research that shows that, like, kids really want a pet raptor or something, so that's why they're doing this? Like, you want your little raptor buddy?
I think a lot of Jurassic Park fans, like, I'm not a big Jurassic Park fan, but I think, from what I understand, they see raptors as, like, they're the aliens or the predators of that universe. You know, they are the things to be terrified of. They're sort of rewriting the rules a little bit. But in fairness, this is, you know, not your regular raptor. This is one that's been conditioned to behave that way, and you see that in all these little flashback videos, but it didn't really have anything compelling about it to me.
There's one bit where, like, I rolled my eyes nearly out of my head, where it's the Indoraptor, the genetically engineered super weapon raptor.
Indoraptor, that's what they call it. Yep.
That can follow the sight line of a laser sight, and then
something to do with the sonic sound.
It's activated by a sonic button, which will make it attack. Just use a gun. You know, you already have the gun in your hand, and you're pointing at the thing you want to kill. Just pull that trigger.
Oh, sure. Like, yeah. Again, there was a slight payoff because they used the laser to make it jump somewhere, but I mean, even then, they pointed it at Chris Pratt, and it went for Chris Pratt, and he ducked out of the way, and it missed him.
Damn!
It's like, wow, that's $25 million well spent to the Russian guy that bid on it. Like,
we forgot to engineer in the ducking gene.
I mean, my God. Oh, what, you can get your way out of that one. It was a prototype, remember?
Oh, yeah. I don't care. I spent 25 millions.
25 millions. There was something else I wanted to bring up there, but I guess we might come back to it. I don't know. Like, who cares?
It's just, it was... I thought I was going to dislike it, but I ended up really disliking it. I was so bored.
I wasn't that bored. I bought a little popcorn that kept me occupied. I was enjoying eating my popcorn. So
do you know what I'll give it though? The way it ends and like kind of leaves the state of the world hints at a much better movie than this one.
You mean the way that it? Yeah, the way that it ends. I don't want to. There's no point in getting into details, but sure, yeah, it sort of sets up a third movie. But I mean,
maybe the one cool visual in a zoo.
Cool. That was a cool visual. I thought there was actually, speaking of which, there was one other really cool visual that I liked. You might remember, just as the boat is pulling away from the island and it pans back and you see the Brontosaurus.
It was like a Kong.
It was. It also really reminded me of that kind of emotional stuff that he did so well in A Monster Calls. I felt like I was like, oh, I don't even like. Out of nowhere, I felt really sad for this poor dinosaur.
You don't even personally know that Brontosaurus?
No, I don't. I don't know its name, or didn't even have a chance to buy it coffee. So, like,
no, you never will.
It's left behind. It's a really kind of striking visual. I liked that a lot. That part, and I thought that really nicely bookends that. Like, what do we have next? I'm kind of looking forward to the next part now because that was really strong. Welcome to this auction in this house. It's like,
do you know what it reminded me of? The end of the first Taken movie.
Yeah.
Except instead of young, pretty American girls, it's dinosaurs.
Yeah. But, like, what? Just who thinks it's a good idea to have this in your Jurassic Park movie?
And like you said, what are they going to do with them?
They
have one dinosaur.
Are they just buying them, like, as a prestigious, as a sort of status symbol? Or are they there to buy them for rich, people? Obviously, these guys that are buying and bidding are all kind of criminals because it's all, illegal activity.
Do all these criminal organizations have their own geneticists who are going to reverse engineer?
Mate, it's not worth it. Also, a friend of mine was saying earlier, like, a pet dinosaur would be a never-ending hassle.
Yeah.
It's like what you got. It's like he's eating the conservatory again.
Constantly looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do with it? Like you say. So.
What I was about to say. Mm-hmm. There's a part with the Indoraptor where a guy's trying to do something to it, and it is, as far as we and the character know, it is asleep or unconscious. Yeah. and it starts like toying with him. Like,
You roll your eyes at this part.
absolutely.
Oh, I actually kind of enjoyed
Well,
this
like it
part.
kind of lifts its tail, and then the guy looks behind him, and it drops its tail, and then it opens its eye, and it's like, and
It's
it
kinda like
actually
a little wink
smiles.
at the camera.
It like does a little grin, like hee hee hee.
Yeah.
It was so
To be
terrible.
honest, man, at least that was kind of fun. It was something fun and something a little different than like characters wandering around aimlessly in a mansion as like dinosaurs are being sold.
Fucking stupid.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not saying it wasn't stupid, but it entertained me just a little bit. You know what made me laugh a lot, which I don't think it was supposed to. I think it was Blue. Was it just before that? Is in a room where there's gas starts to leak, and it goes like sniffs the gas, and then jumps out of the room and gets blown out of a window. And the animation on it just looked so funny and so ridiculous, like this dinosaur running away from an exploding gas tank because it could smell the gas. That made me laugh a lot.
I honestly thought at some point Chris Pratt was going to ride a dinosaur. He doesn't, but it looked like he was going to do that.
I was going to say something does, but it's Blue ends up riding the Indo-Rex, jumping on top of it and fighting it. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. So there you go.
That is actually all I've got to say about the movie. Like,
Well, that's fine. I guess we've been talking about it for long enough.
only like half an hour.
But I mean, I'm sure some people will go and see it. But I mean,
I'm really. This is the thing, because I've just seen it a few hours ago.
Yeah.
I've not really read anyone else's reviews yet, and I saw like Empire gave it 4.
well,
What the fuck is that?
that's Empire.
Actually, let me
They
just
give
double
everything
check
a 4.
that before I slander Empire.
Robbie Collin at the Telegraph, who I like quite a bit, he often stands in for Mark Kermode in the 5 Live show. He said Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom makes Jurassic Park 3 look like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
You know, this,
Yes.
and David Ehrlich, he gave it like half a star out of 5. He absolutely despised it. On Rotten Tomatoes, it started at 70% positive, but you know, we just needed to like it a tiny bit more, and Rotten Tomatoes would have given us we would have been part of that 70%, giving it a thumbs up. So I don't think anyone's giving it glowing reviews. It's
Four stars, Empire. I was right.
It's absurd.
Ben Travis. I don't know who he is. He's not on the podcast, so I don't recognize his name.
Cool. I don't read Empire or anything, man. I have always kind of had the impression the 2 big film magazines are kind of untrustworthy when it comes to that kind of stuff, in the same way that a lot of the big gaming magazines are untrustworthy because they rely so much on advertising money.
Let me just read you the final blurb from their review. The fear factor is back. This is a Jurassic sequel that plays it both adrenaline-pumpingly huge and thrillingly small. A summer ride that will drive kids out of their minds and maybe even give the parents nightmares.
Like how much have Universal paid you to say that? That's not a reaction that you would have unless you wanted to be on the poster.
Yeah,
That's not a real reaction. I'll give them credit. It does try to be big and it tries to be small, but it's very misguided in its attempts to kind of make things smaller and more intimate.
And who watched Jurassic Park and thought, yeah, but you know what? What if it all was all in a house?
Yeah. Let's set it in a house. One single house.
Yeah. A big house, but you know,
Yeah.
a house nonetheless.
A house that really makes no sense in regular human geometry and geography. Like, the spatial dimensions of that house don't make any sense, so that immediately starts fucking with your brain.
It's like the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, like there are rooms that lead into other passages and rooms that don't seem to make any sense. Absolutely.
And at the end of the movie, I felt like I had been there for hundreds of years.
So yeah.
Moving on.
Would you recommend Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
No. I'm actually quite scared, because usually if we're seeing something for the podcast, I have more free time than my girlfriend does, so I tend to see a film on my own, review it for the podcast, and then I'll go and see it again with her.
You're wary when she's going to ask if she wants, so you're just going to say,
I'll
really
say,
want to see it
like,
again.
you can go and see it if you want. I wouldn't recommend it, but I cannot do it with you again.
That's the thing, even if I had heard your opinion on it, I would still want to check it out, because, you know, why not? So, but that's me. I go and catch movies all the time, and, you know, surely even if you'd had a bad review, it's a big release, you'd still want to check it out.
Yeah, I think if she has, her free time is quite precious, so I don't know if she will waste it on something that I've said is rubbish.
Far be it from me to be presumptuous about how she's spending her free time or anything like that as well. But I just meant, like, speaking as yourself, if you read a bad review of a film, it's not instantly going to make you go, well, I'll not see that now.
No.
There are people who will be like that, and like you say, I think maybe she'll take your opinion, you know, more to heart. She knows, you know, your taste more than she maybe will understand that. I'm sure she empathizes with your taste more than that guy in Empire. Put it that way.
Ben Travis. So moving on to film news.
News.
Along with the supposed Gotham City Sirens and the Harley Quinn spin-off and the Joaquin Phoenix and Martin Scorsese's produced Joker movie, there's also going to be a Jared Leto solo movie, so we're being told now.
Joker movie based on the Jared Leto character that was introduced in Suicide Squad.
That's the one.
Cool. Like, DC, man, get your fucking shit together. It's like, they don't have a clue what they're doing.
Is this just as an apology to Jared Leto for fucking him over so much with Suicide Squad?
I don't care.
I can't think of anything worse than 2 hours of that guy.
No. I mean, and also, just on this subject, right? Marvel have got it down to a T, whereby they always have 1 or 2 projects in production, while they've got other stuff in post-production, other stuff in pre-production. DC have got this huge gap now where Justice League hugely underperformed. I think it lost money in the end. I don't think it even broke even. And that's a film with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and other people. Like, but my God, I mean, if you were to say 10 years ago, there's going to be a movie with Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman, you'd be like, that's going to make all the money. People will love that. But like, they couldn't get that right. So like, rather than like just taking some time to think about it, I suppose they are taking time to think about it. They've done it and now they're just making all the same decisions again. To like why not just reset this thing and try and do it right?
They've just taken the bucket of names and thrown it against the wall.
They are just doubling down now, aren't they? Like, do you think they're just doubling down, going, well, we've come this far, might as well keep going?
It's like, well, enough people on the internet said that we didn't give Jared Leto enough time in the movie, so let's give him his own movie.
I mean,
enough people on the internet said that they didn't like Jared Leto in the movie, so let's do a different movie with a different Joker.
Who's running this company?
Some Yahoo.
Like,
some putz.
Yeah, man. It just seems absurd. Like, I would honestly, the next one's coming out is Aquaman, which seems like it's been in production forever. I think it's in post now.
Yeah,
but
you imagine there's a lot of post production on something like Aquaman.
Like in all these big budget effects heavy movies, there's a lot of post. But I mean, if you're Marvel, you've got like 2 movies in post right now. You know, you've got Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you've got
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, like and Avengers: Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah,
these are all in post. So what?
Ant-Man's probably done by now.
You'd be surprised, by the way. You know, J.J. Abrams was still doing post in Force Awakens about 5 days before it came out.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised, but what I'm trying to say is like they're bringing out an Aquaman film, and it's like, right now, what have you got? It's like, oh, we've got loads of stuff in the pipeline, none of which seems to connect to anything. 2 different Joker movies, because that won't confuse people. Like,
it feels like they do. Like the guy in charge doesn't know anything about DC, right? And he was at a party with some fans, and they were like, "Oh, what about this?" And he's like, "Yep, got that."
I mean, that's just a toxic fan base as well. Like all these
people.
Like,
oh, but I don't like that. So what about this different version of it? Yep,
yeah, we'll
got
do
it
that
as well.
It's like trying to please all the 100 different opinions that people have of one single instance in a comic book. Yeah, like I said before, though, I'll go see it. Like, I'm moaning, but I'll go and see it. A lot of the time, I go and see movies like that out of morbid curiosity.
I mean, yeah, how can you can't complain about something and say it's terrible if you haven't seen it.
No, but also you can't complain about them making shit if you continue to support it by going to see it, I suppose. So there's that catch-22 there where I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? It's like, yeah, but you've gone to see all of those DC movies. Like, oh yeah, so I have. I even went to see Suicide Squad in 4DX, by God. Paid an extra $5.
Oh, Andy.
It was the opening night of 4DX in Glasgow, so I had to go and see something. Just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, the 4DX was more entertaining than the movie, but then that's not hard to believe.
A wee bit of sad news. As you can see, I put a wee sad face beside it. Solo is like officially a flop.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's
nowhere near making its money back.
Yes.
We kind of predicted this last week when the early numbers had come in.
Predicted to lose $50 million.
Wow, it was 40 the other day. 50 now. Jeez. 50. So in the region of 50. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. The budget for a movie like, you know, a regular Star Wars movie is like $250 million. And then the advertising budget is another $250 million. This one, I think, had a budget of $150 to $200 million, and then they had to up that when they reshot so much of the film and had to bring everyone back, pay everyone again. A lot of these actors as well, when they get called back for that kind of reshoot work, often charge a good amount more.
And sometimes they've got a mustache.
And sometimes they're Mark Wahlberg and they charge an absolute fortune for reshoots. Remember that for all the money.
I remember, yeah.
But in fairness, he ended up donating it to charity when he got pulled up about it. But this movie ended up going to $300 million production, so it ate into the marketing budget. But they still spent, I think, $150 million marketing. So that's $450 million it's got to make back for a small standalone movie. It should be having a budget like, you know how when, again, sorry to go back to Marvel, right? But they kind of have the formula down. Now they did like Avengers, it's like 200 million. And then they do like Ant-Man, which was like 100 million, maybe? Not even. Like, you know, the budgets need to vary appropriately per project. You can't throw 300 million at every single Star Wars movie.
But surely that's what they intended to do before the directors were not up to their standards.
You mean they intended to
have Solo be a small movie?
I'm not sure what the original budget was. I'm kind of guessing maybe 150 million, but I don't know.
Like definitely smaller than The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but it's now way more than what The Last Jedi cost.
The most expensive Star Wars movie ever made. Which
is strange considering how crummy it looked in places. But although I've read some stuff about that as well. Have you read about that? I don't know whether this is just kind of Lucasfilm damage limitations, but they're saying like a lot of projection bulbs aren't bright enough to show off the cinematography. Like a lot of projectionists or cinema projectors aren't showing it at the proper brightness. I wouldn't be surprised because you and I both worked in cinemas and we know how little attention projectors get now because they're all automated. So, you know, replacing a bulb and making sure the bulb is at the correct brightness is never at the top of anyone's agenda because they're all run by managers who've got a million other, you know, administration things to do.
And it's a hell of a task replacing one of those xenon light bulbs. You have to put in a hazmat suit.
Do you, for real?
Yeah, you have to have two people doing it. Jesus. One of them has to be wearing a hazmat suit.
So I've read that they're not bright enough for the film, and then when I saw who the cinematographer was, it's the same guy that did Arrival.
Oh, that's a gorgeous
movie. Which is a gorgeous movie. So what's going on?
Well, I've calling shenanigans on that excuse because the cinema I saw at has been refurbished in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
One of the screens was unused for 9 years.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's definitely going to have new stuff in it.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw Arrival in a cinema that was older, and it looked fantastic. So when you're saying like it needs to have this brand new bright bulb in it, I don't know. But you say there is maybe some shenanigans to be called there. But it's a shame that it's not
a shame
finding a market.
It's a good movie. Yeah.
We talked about toxic fan culture and stuff. There's just a real problem right now, I think, with that. And so many people are having this kind of protest of we're not going to go and see the film because we disagree with how the films are made. And I don't know if you saw Kermode's video that he put up yesterday or today about the people are like seeing, oh, the directors were changed midway through production. It must be a disaster. And he was like, man, The Wizard of Oz went through like 5 different directors when it was in production. Spartacus, you know, Kubrick came on halfway through, which we talked about on our Film Worker episode a few weeks back. Listen to that, it's very good. Yeah. And, you know, changing directors, I think it's because there's so much social media everywhere that covers every little angle and everybody wants a big sensationalist story.
Yeah.
So it was kind of blown up and then it baits a lot of these really overly sensitive man-baby Star Wars fans into this sort of like tantrum.
Yeah. We'll talk a wee bit about that in a second, but just to intercut my last news story, Jason Momoa and Corin Hardy, who's the director, have left the Crow reboot as the second director to drop out of it.
Who was the first?
I can't remember. Some idiot.
Okay. And The Crows, what do you think of the...
I've never seen The Crow because I was kind of too young to be like an angsty teenager when it came out.
I was an angsty teenager as it was sort of available for rental.
So how many leather jackets did you own?
Yeah, 1 or 2. They've got a good little mile of leather jacket stores down in the east end of Glasgow. I don't even know if I was a teenager when it came out. It's just like back in the days when I was a teenager, we used to go to the Global Video or the Blockbuster and we would rent all the kind of stuff that was, you know, singing to us as angsty teenagers, and I was into like metal and goth stuff, so yeah, perfect for that kind of stuff. But I mean, I have no doubt in my mind if I was to rewatch The Crow now, I'd be like, this is utter shit. But I don't know, maybe it's got a little place in my heart still, who knows. But I saw this thing about Momoa leaving the project.
Really is a cursed
Cursed chalice, poison chalice.
Yeah, he used that expression last week.
Really, I need to
did.
get some better.
He said it about
metaphors.
Solo. Cursed property is what I was going to say.
Cursed property is good.
Yeah,
It's
the
a
crow.
good one. Yeah. It's not really on my radar at all these days. I didn't even know it was something that was in production.
I'm surprised that they're even doing it because like it was so of its time. you know?
And also it's sort of a role that was embodied by Brandon Lee. It's what everyone remembers him for, and he died during the production. It kind of seems like you should just leave it be.
Yeah.
Particularly because of how it had to be like finished in post production without him there, and they had to kind of put. I think they had to use some.
You have to use Paul Walker's face on it.
Was it Paul Walker?
No, it was
right. I'm like
that was a wee Fast and Furious joke.
No, that's the heat exhaustion. Honestly, no,
Mm-hmm.
but they definitely had to
And the
use
sleep
some
deprivation.
kind of and that they had to use some kind of trickery with Brandon Lee in that film.
No, yeah, they definitely replaced his face, but with Brandon Lee's face. But
Right.
like before a point where it was
Not Paul Walker's face.
before it was doable to a good degree.
Sure.
I've never seen it.
I mean, check it out, I guess, because it's one of those. Oh, well, do you want to check it out? I don't even know, man.
I don't think I do.
I'll try and rewatch it and then see if it still talks
Hey.
to us as an adult.
Don't feel obliged.
You know me, man. I'll watch any old shit.
Speaking of old shit,
Yay! Good segue.
this is what I have been watching over the last week.
What have you been watching, Alan?
Very topical. I rewatched The Last Jedi, and it wasn't because of the recent kind of stuff with Kelly Marie Tran that happened after I watched it.
The recent stuff being that she, like Daisy Ridley, has now deleted her Instagram stuff and just
because
getting off
of
social media because she gets
horrible
constant
people.
abuse.
Yeah.
It seems it's definitely prevalent in the Star Wars fan base,
Yeah,
but it does happen to an awful lot of celebrities, unfortunately. But
Women especially.
yeah, more unfortunately again. But certainly who the hell would want to be in a Star Wars movie when you see the kind of stuff you have to deal with? Anyway, so you were on a more positive note. You were rewatching The Last Jedi.
I originally really, really liked The Last Jedi, and then I saw it again, and I still really liked it, and I saw it a third time, and I still really liked it. And then months went by of having to listen to people complain endlessly about it, and me just not understanding the criticism. Apart from the fact that the Canto Bight stuff is crap, and the chase on Canto Bight is crap, and the relationship between Finn and Rose is underdeveloped.
Yeah.
That's not good, that stuff. But everything else in the movie I really like. And this time watching it, it may be the most I have liked it yet.
Interesting. Do you think you were going in expecting to not like it as much, so your expectations
Maybe,
were
yeah,
a
I was
little
thought,
lower?
like,
Now is going to be the time where I spot all the flaws that
the
everyone's
shine
been
will be
talking about.
off the apple and stuff.
I've still to watch it on home viewing. I saw it 3 times in the cinema.
I'd like to watch it with Ryan Johnson's director commentary.
Sure.
But
have you got the Blu-ray or something? Because it's
I borrowed
supposed
it
to
off
be
my brother. Yeah,
meant to be a great documentary on
there
there.
is.
The director and the Jedi.
A really kind of shockingly honest look at the making of the film, like his Mark Hamill features in it, and like he's pretty open about how like his problems with the character and the script and stuff. But Mark Hamill seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And watching the movie this time as well, like I think his performance is fantastic in this movie.
Oh yeah.
He's so good, especially knowing that he didn't necessarily agree with the direction the character was going. He fully commits to it.
Yeah.
And he's great in it.
But also, like, he doesn't really. I say it doesn't matter. It's like, if you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, he's just an actor. So what he thinks about the direction of the character actually doesn't really matter.
And
a
he's
whole
been
lot.
pretty open as well about how like his ideas are generally terrible. Like he said,
Sure.
he when he was working on The Force Awakens for his own kind of actors process, he wrote out what a kind of a background for what Luke had been up to for the past 30 years.
He showed it to J.J. Abrams, right?
And he says that J.J. Abrams basically patted him on the head, gave him a cookie, and told him to go away.
Yeah.
Because like I've heard him talking, he's like, "Oh yeah, when I was reading the script, that bit where they're fighting in the forest and the lightsaber flies
it's going to be me. It's going to be me.
Yeah, that should be me, and he was disappointed it wasn't. But like that would be stupid. That would be a terrible place for Luke to pop up. It wouldn't make any sense.
I think it might have worked, but it would have taken everything
Why would
in
he
a totally
come to a
different direction,
planet that was
obviously.
in the midst of being devoured by the power of a sun, and just show up as everyone else is evacuating?
Oh yeah.
It's just anyway.
So you
it's a
rewatched
really-
The Last Jedi?
Yes. And as like this time as well, like I was really taken just by the visuals of it. So much so that I made a wee Twitter post and an Instagram post of some of my favourite shots from it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all, like, you could frame every one of them. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a well shot movie. Certainly is. I mean, do you have any? Did you spot any new things that you hadn't really thought about before, or was it really just going
Funnily
over?
enough, something that I'm quite ashamed of.
Okay.
It's so blaringly obvious. You know, at the very end, and spoilers if you've not seen The Last Jedi. You know, at the very end when Rey has saved them all and they're all getting on the Falcon to fly away.
Don't tell me you didn't spot the books.
No. I
Okay.
didn't see that. And Kylo and the stormtroopers come in to the control room, and then Kylo looks up, and it cuts the shot of Rey looking down, and they regard each other. Just, I don't know, in my head it was like they're close to each other, they're seeing each other, but like I didn't even put together, oh wait, no, they're seeing each other via the Force. They're miles apart at that point. She is outside the building.
Oh yeah, it's more supposed to be like harking back to The Empire Strikes Back when Vader's talking to Luke across the distance of space, or obviously very much in The Last Jedi where they have that connection where they are pretty much right next to each other.
And you might think that's it's not that severe thing because they've been doing it all through the film, but every other time it was Snoke says it was him that joined their minds. So now they have that ability just of their own.
Sure,
is quite exciting going forward because all that stuff, all those conversations between the two of them, basically anything with Adam Driver in that movie, is outstanding.
That was the strength for me. I have a couple of problems that have since come to mind about The Last Jedi. Like I say, I've not watched it at home, and I've not watched it even since these problems have popped up. It was after I'd seen it 3 times that something popped into my head. So the first thing is, like, it's set right after the events of The Force Awakens, and for me, the way that everyone's interacting with each other doesn't quite seem like that gels properly. I know we spoke before we started recording about how you maybe have to take the timeline with a little bit of a pinch of salt, and that the different storylines aren't all happening concurrently and simultaneously.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do that because they've been cut together in such a way to make it seem like they are all happening simultaneously.
And there's nothing concrete in the film that would say that that's
otherwise.
happening.
Yeah, I
you
think
kind of have to for it to make sense.
You have to sort of just forgive them that they've picked it up so soon. The reason they wanted to do that is because Rian Johnson wanted to pick up from the moment that Rey met Luke Skywalker instead of picking up months or weeks later, which was, or years later, which a lot of the other Star Wars films do.
He was, to an extent, backed in a corner there because Force Awakens ends in a cliffhanger. You can't not pick it up there.
Yeah, although I do believe he threw out any advice about where to go next that Abrams might have had.
Yeah, that is a valid criticism. Yeah, like you said, it's the same with Dark Knight Rises. The time span is all over the place.
Yeah, things like Poe Dameron has just blown up like Starkiller Base, and then a few hours later they're like talking to him like he's a nobody, and like And
well, I wouldn't go that far. Like
he's denigrated quite a bit, and it's like he's literally just saved everyone's lives.
Yeah, but Force Awakens ends with them all back on base.
Yeah.
Getting ready to. So some time has passed. Since
okay, so maybe a few days.
And then at the beginning of the film, he's still the hero. He's still commander.
Sure.
And
then
I guess
he makes
a bad decision, and Leia bumps him down.
Sure. I get that. There was another thing that was popping into my head there, and I cannot now for the life of me think what it was.
Was that about how they didn't explain Snoke's backstory at all?
Yeah, and there was too many women in the film. Oh man, all that shit's ridiculous. I would have preferred to have seen it go full weird and rogue, and her actually join up with Kylo Ren. That's not really a criticism. It's just how I would have loved to have seen it be written. The moment where he offers his hand, I would have loved to see her go for it, and then like completely fuck with the entire expectations of what you would think from a Star Wars film. They've already subverted the expectations quite a bit by that point. Yeah. Just go one more. The thing that I was going to say is, for me, the problem with the characters in The Force Awakens, particularly Finn and even Poe, is that their character arcs don't pick up where they left off. They kind of start all over again.
Yeah.
Even in the trailer for The Last Jedi, they had a line in it where Finn goes, "I finally have something to fight for," and it's like, you said that in the last film.
Yeah. I actually watched a fantastic video on YouTube, which I might link somewhere on Twitter or whatever.
Description, yeah.
And it's breaking down why Finn's character arc is not successful in the movie and why Kylo's is so successful.
Okay.
It's 7 minutes long or whatever, but it's fantastic. Like, it points out how Finn's character arc is supposed to be that he he's out for himself and just wants to save Rey, and then by the end of it he is fully a rebel, has joined the cause. But that's
The problem is, the first film, he just wanted to save Rey and himself, and that was it. And then by the end of it, he was a rebel.
Yeah,
And so it's the exact same character arc. And Poe as well, doesn't really...
Poe doesn't really have a storyline, a character arc in the first movie, I don't think.
Yeah, but he certainly doesn't seem to... Nothing seems to develop. He's still just like the flyboy.
In the second movie?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's his whole point, is that he learns to be a leader and not just to be the hero.
Sure, I get you. But he's also getting a lecture to like not be so impulsive, and it's like, man, if he wasn't so impulsive, he'd all be dead. It's like, I don't know. So there's a few things like that kind of irk me, but like, I still think the movie's great.
But anyway, don't be a dick to celebrities because the film they're in doesn't fulfill your man-baby wishes that you've had in your fanfic in your head for 30 years.
Yeah. Can I just push back on you on that as well? Just don't be a dick.
Oh, sorry, yes. I should have just stopped talking.
You're quite right. No, but you're absolutely right. Don't be a dick to celebrities because blah, blah, blah. But also, just don't be a dick. Just be nice to each other.
But yeah, this led to a small discussion on Twitter as well with friends Lee McPherson from The Monster Closet, another Glasgow video game podcast, and Paco Rodriguez from Raps in the Kitchen, another Glasgow-based film podcast. And I invited them to, bring it, no, to have a discussion about it, because I've never really engaged with someone who has an actual intelligent opinion that isn't just like, oh, I think Luke should have been like he was in Return of the Jedi.
I have a friend who is particularly adept at, see, this is how bad I am, at forming his opinions and vocalizing his opinions is what I'm trying to say. We should have him on sometime. He would have a very solid discussion about what, and he doesn't like The Last Jedi at all, but he's got interesting opinions as to why, and he's not some alt-right monster.
I wouldn't assume if he's a
no,
friend
he's a good guy. He loves the Star Wars movies. My friend Andrew Glazer, who also listens to this podcast.
I know him in name only.
Yeah, we should talk to him sometime. He's not a fan of The Last Jedi, but I've listened to his discussions about it, and they're interesting and kind of make you want to talk about it.
Cool. But I've rambled enough. Andrew, what have you watched old and new this week that isn't Jurassic World?
Quite a bunch of stuff, but I was just going to talk about my favourite new thing and my favourite old thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw a movie that we spoke about in the new releases from last week called Ishmael's Ghosts.
Yeah.
So this is a French film that tells the story of a film director who is widowed, but his wife isn't actually dead. He's widowed because she disappeared and never came back for something like 20 years. So she's been presumed dead by the state. And he's sort of making a film about his brother, and he's taken up with a new partner since then.
As you would after 20 years.
As you would. And so the two partners are played by Marion Cotillard as the wife that's disappeared, and the new partner is Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Oh, it's a very French movie.
Yes, but they're fantastic in it, man. And actually, it's really just about the old wife reappearing again and just throwing everything into chaos. I'm a big fan of Fellini's 8.5. I'm a really big fan of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, and this film has so many nods to the two of them. Have you ever seen 8.5?
No, I've seen Vertigo, I've not seen 8.5.
8.5, I would just think you'd love it, man. It's about a film director who is trying unsuccessfully to make his masterpiece, to make his next film, and it's very autobiographical for Fellini. And this film is the film director who is struggling so much to write and direct this new film. He can't just figure out how it's supposed to be. And also, the wife who's come back and onto the scene is also called Carlotta, and that is no small coincidence in that Kim Novak's character in Vertigo is obsessed with this old relative of hers called Carlotta Valdez, who's the sort of ghost that at one point we're led to believe is possibly possessing her. There's other references to Vertigo, and there's a portrait of her in one of the rooms, which looks an awful lot like the Carlotta Valdez portrait. It's just, it was a really kind of narratively complex, but really fulfilling movie. Took a little while to click with me. The first 20 minutes, I was thinking, this is really kind of confusing, and I'm not sure, we're jumping around in time quite a lot. There's quite a lot of jumping backwards and forwards through time, and then it really throws you into a little confusion. But then it basically puts you in the shoes of the main character, Ishmael, who's played by the actor who was the lead in The Diving Bell and the Butterfly and a bunch of other stuff.
I just assumed it would have been Jared Leto.
No, he's Russian now anyway. He's not French.
What?
Yeah, he left France and he's now a Russian citizen. He gave up his French citizenship.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not going to fool anyone. He's definitely French.
Sure, he's the most French man there possibly could be. But yeah, if you get a chance to see it, man, I really highly recommend it. It's a couple of hours. It's not an easy watch, but it was a very fulfilling watch. I went to see it with my dad. Like we go and see quite a lot of films together, and he liked it a fair bit, but I was really quite taken with it. I kind of loved it. Yep.
Cool. And your old thing?
So my pick for best old film, I watched quite a few. I watched quite a few old films this week.
Yeah, if you followed them on Twitter, you would see his kind of odyssey of the misery.
Yeah, well, on Sunday I had a horribly miserable day. I started with Salo or 120 Days of Sodom, which made me want to cry and vomit and like throw myself out the window. So I thought I'll move on to something a bit more cheery, and here it comes. This is my favourite of the old films I watched. So I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which was not cheery in the slightest. It was miserable. But I'd been recommended it by a couple of people before, and it's always been on the watch list. I just picked some stuff at random on my Letterboxd watch list, and this was on Filmstruck. So I think it's on Prime Video right now as well. So this is about two aging film actresses who basically live as recluses in a mansion in Hollywood. It's got similarities to Sunset Boulevard and films of that
So
type.
is this the movie, or is it Sunset Boulevard that has the two lead actresses who like really hate each other?
This is the one where they really hate each other. Yeah, it's Bette Davis who plays Jane, or Baby Jane. She was like a child star, but she was a real horrible wee girl and real nasty. So she kind of had a very big fall from grace when people saw that she wasn't the sweet little blonde girl singing on stage with her mum and dad, or with her dad. She has an older sister who's much more reserved, and she grows up to be the big respected film star. And she's in all these, but her sister is this kind of almost painted out very angelic. She's really forgiving. She was always treated like the kind of child that nobody wanted because she wasn't the beautiful little singing girl. So when she grows up and becomes a star, her little sister, Baby Jane, is no longer Baby Jane, and nobody really cares about her anymore. So she's got a clause in her contract that anytime a studio signs her for a film, they have to sign her little sister for a film as well. So she's like trying to help her sister out, but you know, her sister, we see like stuff about, you know, her films that she's in. She's a terrible actress, and yeah, so she's played as in their older years by Bette Davis plays Baby Jane, and Joan Crawford plays her sister, and they basically at the start we see that the sister is jealous of the fact that her older sister is getting all the attention. So there's a car accident outside her house where she is paralysed and bedbound after that. So Jane then has to look after the older sister and is really sadistic towards her, like murders her or kills her budgie, like her little pet parakeet or budgie, and puts it on her tray for her lunch. Really twisted and nasty. Bette Davis's performance, like Joan Crawford is great in it. She's very she's got that kind of stoic, kind of almost a little goody two shoes thing going on, but she plays the role well for what it is. It's quite a simplistic role, but Bette Davis's role is a lot more psychologically complex, and she did all her own makeup in it, and it looks not that dissimilar from like the Heath Ledger Joker makeup. It doesn't take too much of a stretch to think it would go from that to that. So she insisted on doing this kind of crazy makeup. They had to do a lot of the driving scenes. They didn't have enough money to do them on a rear projecting screen, so they actually just drove around in Hollywood, and the cameraman just hid like either in the back seat or in the passenger seat. So apparently a lot of the driving scenes, everybody was like looking at Bette Davis like all done up, like looking horrendous in this makeup. So it's a kind of interesting trivia to how the film was made. But I think it was a bit of a cult hit in its day, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's a real kind of solid psychological thriller. And really nice to see like a movie that's like led by two older actresses. I imagine like even now that would be quite unique to see. So imagine at the time, I think the president of whoever it was that released it said something like, "I never thought I'd owe my success to those two old biddies," or something like that. So
and he slapped his secretary in the arse and
I bet he did, man.
Smoked indoors.
So yeah, so those are the two strong ones that I saw this week.
Cool. Well, next week there's not a huge amount of new stuff out that isn't getting a more art housey stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of art house stuff, but we have a new film coming out on Netflix that's getting a little bit of buzz, from what I've understood.
Alex Strangelove is the name of it.
Want to give us a synopsis?
This is my first time even reading it, would you believe? So let's see. Alex Truelove. Wait a minute. Is that his name?
Apparently his name is Alex Truelove, yeah.
Alex Truelove is on a quest to lose his virginity. Oh, so it's like American Pie.
Boner comedy!
Alex Truelove is on a quest to lose his virginity, an event eagerly awaited by his patient girlfriend and cheered on with welcome advice by his rowdy friends. Alex, a super gregarious dude, is oddly unmotivated.
That's how I describe you, a super gregarious dude.
A magical house party throws Alex into the presence of Elliot, a hunky college guy who pegs Alex as gay and flirts hard. Shouldn't use pegs when in that sentence. It's a bit
Jesus,
misleading.
yeah. I never thought of that.
Alex is taken aback, but after a series of setbacks on the girlfriend front, he takes the plunge and learns some interesting new facts about himself. Is he gay? Is that the thing?
I have no idea. That would be a spoiler. He's probably a clone. So we thought we might maybe talk about that next week, and it would give us a chance to kind of talk about Netflix in general and how their real big push into original content. Because I kind of touched on it last week. And
it's something that you are quite interested in.
I like it. Yeah, it's so difficult to balance like watching new stuff and old stuff, and like you don't want to like watch rubbish, you know, if you can help it. But sometimes Netflix has that quality control problem that we can maybe get into next week. But I've certainly heard some people talk about this, so it'll be interesting to check it out. I don't know if you fancy that.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, and as Andy said, a greater discussion of the Netflix model and film slate and previous original work that they have done.
I'll maybe try and sneak in a couple that I haven't seen, because I've seen some really good Netflix films. One that slipped my mind last week was the Meyerowitz stories, the new Noah Baumbach film. Yeah. Well worth checking out. So
cool. So all that and more next week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can follow us at CinematicPod on Twitter. You can email us at cftppod@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am SuperDiscoBacon, and you can also get me at SuperDiscoBacon on letterboxd.com for all my written film reviews.
Indeed. And on Twitter, I am the Technogoat, and on Letterboxd, I am just Technogoat. You can see all my reviews of all the various bits and bobs that I watch. I always keep the reviews very short, to the length of a tweet, so you can read them without having to take another breath.
I couldn't if I tried, I don't think. I struggle to... I'm just too gregarious, I guess.
You're just such a gregarious dude.
Yeah.
I'm just oddly unmotivated. So whatever, man. Like, in the time it would take me to write a review the length that you write, I could have watched another movie by that point. So
cool. Well, look forward to that next week.
See you then, man.
Hopefully it'll be a good couple of degrees cooler. Because I'm dying.
You're so funky. You're so funky.